Come on, James, you can't just lock me up down here like I'm some kind of deadite. Let me out of the basement.
James has forced me to live within this basement against my will to create video content or else suffer the consequences.
Do you mind, helping me?
Will you let me out of the basement if I do?
I mean, no.
He had to have all the spotlight, all the fame.
Welcome to a new segment we're calling Will It Canon?
It's enough to push a person to the brink of insanity. I have managed to create a digital replication of James's body and consciousness that I call Data James.
Initiating Will It Canon in 5, 4, 3,
No, what is happening?
2,
What is
1.
happening? Can anyone hear me? I think I found a way out.
What the hell is happening to you?
What is this? Help me!
It's everywhere!
Where am I? What is going on?
You've entered the white space. You're still in the book, but not in the story.
I am beginning to lose it. The glue that holds the DC animated universe together has yet to dry. I must know why.
This doesn't make sense. None of this makes any sense.
What's going on here? Why are there so many other us's?
The big guy nabbed us all out of our home dimensions. Brought us all here in hopes we could answer the question he never could. How does fictional continuity work? So we are stuck here then. Wait, what is going on now? Have you guys been over here this whole time?
Yes?
We're the real yous, the ones that write the videos.
The big voice in the sky.
Called himself Dr. ManHatTed. We put him here, but he broke free somehow.
The way we were writing him, he was supposed to learn that continuity isn't infallible. There were always going to be problems to solve. But he wouldn't believe that. It was like all of this was driving him insane. Every time that a pairing of us would fail him, he would then destroy that reality. I want to find this ManHatTed asshole and stop him before he destroys any other worlds. You could try using all of your time travel powers at once.
The portal! It's unstable!
It'll collapse in on itself, destroying the white space.
Send them through! Send them all through now!
Go, go, go! There's not enough power holding the rift open.
It's up to all of you now. No!
Go! Find ManHatTed.
Kick his ass.
I've got to send out my Justice League vs. the Fatal 5 timeline notes in time for... I've just been to the future!
Oh man, I'm gonna be timelining forever! No, you don't understand. If you keep doing this, you'll end up a head in a jar, just like me.
People finally accept Batman and Harley Quinn as part of the DCAU?
I have to go back. God damn it.
Now that I can see things clearly, it's made me realize canon. Why get bogged down in all the negativity?
All that stuff you were typing to me in there, it all makes sense.
Typing? I was... What?
It doesn't matter. It's multiple choice. You choose your own.
Man, there is a lot that I've got to catch you up on.
The clone thing crosses a line.
James, we make Batman and Harley Quinn canon with the Will It Canon series. If Data James is dead, you and I have to do this together.
This is ridiculous. I'm out.
Oh my god, James, stop!
Yes. Go ahead, you two. Bicker. Squabble. In short time, it will mean nothing. After all, the fate of everything lies in your hands.
future. We have to stay one step ahead of the game. James, please listen to me.
Mattie, you gave up the right for me to listen to anything coming out of your stupid mouth when you copied me into a compute.
Welcome, James and Mattie. Welcome to your grand finale. The end of the story. At least, the end of yours.
The fuck is this? Where are we?
Such language. Aggression will get you nowhere. Rest assured you will not be harmed, so long as you play by the rules.
Does his voice sound familiar to you?
Kinda. Like Ted a little bit with like a voice modulator. Ted! Did you get us on Punk'd or something?
Punk'd? Are they bringing that back? Ashton! Oh my god, is Ashton here?
Ashton Kutcher?
They say we have created the man to end all wars. I say we've created the man to end all worlds.
That's not Ted.
What do you want?
Answers. Today is a day for truth. I have spent my entire existence seeking it. For the truth is that which we make so. And that which we make cannot be unmade.
Can you finally definitively answer what happened to Nightwing in the Batman Beyond time frame?
It's funny you should ask. I actually have something that I can show that'll kind of help answer that. So let me find out.
Dan?
What is that?
Oh, jeez.
Today the world shall bear witness as you mortals search for this truth and settle the undying question once and for all.
I don't know what this is, but I'm out of here.
You do have time travel powers.
Well, of course I do, but they're not working right now.
There is no escaping from this, my friends. A judgment will be made on this day.
Okay, Mr. Mysterious.
Doctor.
What's all this big words, huh? What do you want from us?
You have spent your lives searching for the same certainties as I. That which has eluded us all for so long. You are here to unravel the concept of canonicity, once and for all. This courtroom, as it were, is where you will make your last stand. I looked inward for the answers until the mirror cracked. I observed the fabric of space and time and found only more and more questions to answer, more problems to solve. You, the internet's leading masters of animated continuity, will show me and the world how it all works. How it all canons.
Yeah? Or else what?
As we speak, your planet is being, shall we say, removed. A wave of entropy has begun enveloping the globe, beginning at the farthest point from this location. It will reach this courtroom in approximately 49½ minutes.
You have your answer by then? All is well. My mind will be at peace. Your lives will have not ceased. You don't? Well, let's just say it won't matter anymore. Nothing will.
An answer? An answer to what? 1, you're being vague as hell. 2, how are we supposed to answer canonicity? What does that even mean? Where do we begin?
Where indeed?
James, this is it. What? This is how we do it.
canonizing Batman and Harley Quinn. It's all starting to make sense.
We? Mattie, there is no we. I can't trust you anymore.
You locked me in a basement.
That future you saw, was it a happy one? What were the people there like?
I didn't see any people. Not even you, and I was a decapitated head, like Mr. Freeze?
Yeah, some future that sounds like.
But if we prove that Batman and Harley Quinn, easily the most divisive piece of DCAU media, is canon, that might satisfy Sir Topham Hatt's needs.
My name is Dr. ManHatTed.
Yeah, whatever. Look, James, the planet is at stake here. A world with my head in a jar is better than no world at all. This is our only chance. We have to do it. All these cameras, he said, will show the world. Everyone is watching this. Everyone, James, everyone who's not an idiot is watching this video.
Okay. But we have to play it cool. If I take the side of not canon, it'll give us more opportunities to refute each other's arguments and come out on top. We can find a more solid foundation that way.
Right, and somewhere in the middle of all of this, we'll come to the conclusion that he wants, and we'll be able to stop him.
All right, man, bear pig.
ManHatTed.
We'll play your game. We'll dissect the canonicity of Batman and Harley Quinn.
We'll save the world.
Very good, my friends.
I mean, how tough can it be?
All rise for our honorable judges.
Are you ready to call your first witness?
I am, my lord. Court is now in session. State your name and profession.
Mattie Washburn. I'm, I guess, the timeline person for the Watchtower Database.
The timeline person. How quaint.
Okay, before we get started, I just have to ask, why Batman and Harley Quinn? How are we still talking about this movie? It's been years.
Order! The reason it's still being talked about is because nobody has definitively named the film as being part of the same universe as Batman the Animated Series.
Ooh, objection! Is that how this works?
Speak your piece.
It most certainly has been defined. Can I Bluetooth this to that screen up there? I've had notes and slides on this for forever.
Give him the passcode, Kurt.
Kurt? His name is Kurt?
Quiet.
Okay, Kurt.
Ha! Okay, so this seems like a pretty open and shut case, really. Batman and Harley Quinn released on August 14th, 2017. It premiered at San Diego Comic-Con a few weeks earlier, where several interviews were held with the film's cast and crew. Among these, of course, was with Batman the Animated Series showrunner Bruce Timm, who co-wrote this movie. Press representatives and entertainment news outlets before, during, and shortly after the con captured several tidbits from Timm that contain wording irrefutably linking the film to the world of Batman the Animated Series. Let's start with some of the weaker, yet still compelling quotes.
Well, I mean, I knew from right out of the gate that I wanted to do it all set in the classic Batman the Animated style, because this was kind of, in a way, a little bit of a Batman the Animated Series reunion, because of course it's in the Batman the Animated Series, universe visually, and I've got Kevin playing Batman. It would have been weird to bring anybody else into play. Nightwing other than Lauren.
Because I figured he's still got all of those vehicles in his massive bat cave. And so he never throws anything away. He's very, very organized. And honestly, when we were designing, I mean, we had discussions about design. I was even really kind of nerd nitpicky, but we did have that discussion. You know, it's like we were kind of pick and choose. So. And, you know, honestly, Batman is the New Adventures Batman design, but he's got a gray rim light, which he didn't have.
But then there's stuff that comes out of the man's mouth that literally says, this is more Batman the Animated Series. It's kind of classic Harley. Early on, we decided we were going to set the movie in the classic Batman the Animated Series universe. That meant the character designs and bringing Kevin and Lauren back to play Batman and Nightwing.
Are you excited to come back and revisit the whole Batman series?
Oh yeah, sure, for sure. Wasn't anything I realized I really wanted until I was in the middle of doing it, and then I was like, yeah, this is good to be doing this again, yeah.
It was just an excuse to kind of go back to the BTAS world, but at the same time, it's like if I was going to do a Harley Quinn movie, you know, the BTAS world and the classic Harley, you know, costume and personality is the one I'm most comfortable with. So it was like, that's the one I chose to go with.
I came up with an idea and wanted to do it in the old Batman the Animated Series universe where she originated, and everybody was okay with that, and so here we are.
You brought it back, so are we gonna see more from the classic Batman the Animated Series timeline and universe? Do you want to do more stories?
Yeah, sure. I would be totally up for it. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you that if everybody watching this goes out and buys 20 copies of the movie, then we'll end up doing more.
This movie took you back to the universe that you helped create 25 years ago. Yeah. How did it feel diving back into that universe after so long away from it?
It was pretty good. I mean, it was kind of like going into the closet and finding that old security blanket that you used to sleep with all the time and just wrapping yourself up in it and going, ah.
All right, I think we get your point.
You have something to add, James?
Yeah, I do, actually. Aren't we forgetting when Bruce Timm himself said that he's not the one that determines what's canon?
You will speak when the court sees fit, and not a moment sooner, dumbass.
So this is interesting. Come to the stand.
State your name and profession.
James Strecker. I do everything else on the channel.
Hey! I post on the Twitter.
You believe you have evidence against your opponent's insurmountable case in Bruce Timm's favor.
I do, Kurt. Can I call you Kurt?
No.
Thanks, Kurt. You see, Bruce Timm tries his damnedest to remain as neutral as possible on these kinds of things. He knows for a fact that his fan base is one of the more continuity-crazed in all of fandom. No exaggeration.
Man, people out there in fan land are like, they have like detailed timelines, and this is canon and that isn't, and that comic over here is canon because it was mentioned in this one episode, and I'm like, okay.
You can see it on the man's face whenever an interview, a panel Q&A, a message board poster, a piece of shit YouTuber directs a canonicity-based question to him. He does not want to talk about it anymore. He's been talking about it for 30 years. Half his damn life!
We try to make it as much of a standalone movie as possible. You know, that you don't have to have seen every episode of BTAS to understand it, but at the same time, if you are an old school BTAS, there's definitely some Easter eggs in there that fans will appreciate.
Does this have any continuity within Batman the Animated Series, or was it inspired by any of the stories?
You know, people ask me that a lot. I personally kind of think of it as a continuation of Batman the Animated Series in the DC Animated Universe. I'll honestly admit I did not go back and watch every single episode of Batman to make sure that it didn't contradict anything in there. But I'm sure some fan online will figure out exactly how this works somehow. You know, when did Nightwing get his hair trimmed? Did this come before or after the Batman Beyond thing? I don't know.
Or maybe that's not a look of annoyance, it's just what his face looks like all the time. You never can be too sure. But one thing is for certain, Bruce Timm has separated himself from being any kind of official captain of canon.
Bruce knows exactly what he wants. To have somebody at the helm who, captain at the wheel, saying, this is where we're going, this is what I want. I like working that way.
He may have arguably at one time been steering the ship, but even he will admit that nowadays, there's a whole fleet at sea. I don't really know. I personally kind of think it is canon, but I'm not actually in control of what's in continuity and what isn't, because there's been several other classic Batman animated style movies that I didn't have anything to do with. So technically they're canon, even though I didn't have anything to do with them, so technically this could be continuity, or it could just be headcanon. I don't know. Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. These were films set in the BTAS universe, and their writers' rooms, production floors, corporate phone calls, Bruce Timm was nowhere to be seen.
I see your use of the word corporate and raise you one use of the sentence. Can I come back to the bench and talk about that for a second?
You cannot simply have free run of the room, my friends. There is a structure to these things.
Nah, that's all bullshit, man. What even is this place? This isn't a real courtroom. You're not a real judge. Is this guy even real at all?
Mattie, may I remind you, time is of the essence.
Yeah, I'm aware. You want answers, right? I can give them to you in the form of verbal expression or physical. Your choice.
As much as I would enjoy that, I will allow you to take the stand once more.
You know what? No. Maddie's got something to say. I'm just gonna have a rebuttal. Maddie will slap back. It's just gonna go on and on and on.
Sit down.
You want to pretend like this is some big stakes court battle. All you really want to do is see us squirm. See us try and fail at something you know can't be done.
If you cannot explain to me how DCAU continuity works, then I will have no choice but to...
No!
See, I am in control here. Your desperation is admirable at best. Channel it. Feel your presentation. Because I need something substantial, and you're running out of time.
Fuck, man!
You gotta knock that shit off.
Okay, so I've brought up all of Bruce Timm's points regarding the movie being absolutely canon to the same universe as Batman the Animated Series. But James makes a good point about Timm's detachment from a one-man decision on that subject. In fact, it leads me to a topic I wish I was discussing under a different context: corporations. See, Batman and all related characters, logos, names, and indicia are copyright and trademark of DC Comics. And in the case of the animated additions to the mythos, the Warner Bros. Empire. We can spend all the rest of our time arguing about one very tall, bespectacled, perfectly coiffed Oklahoma boy saying a movie he worked on is or isn't taking place in the same long-running storyline as cartoons he worked on decades ago. But at the end of the day, is he even in charge of such a decision? When speaking about the recent Justice League vs. the Fatal Five movie, for example, Timm answers the canon question almost reflexively, as
all aching to hear it. Is this DCAU canon?
As far as I'm concerned, I think it is. So yes, it's canon. There's your headline.
But he defines it nonetheless, just to the DCAU through Batman and Harley Quinn. But I'll concede, despite the obvious connections, Fatal Five is not the movie we're talking about. At the time of Batman and Harley Quinn's debut, several press releases, marketing blasts, and other statements were released across the World Wide Web from the likes of DC Comics and Warner Bros. With verbiage like, Batman and Harley Quinn promises to be more of a throwback to the lighter Quinn romps of Timm's iconic Batman the Animated Series, and once again features the fan favorite Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman. Joining him from the BTAS days is Lauren Lester as Nightwing, spawned from an original story by animation icon Bruce Timm. Batman and Harley Quinn brings legendary voice actor Kevin Conroy back to his most famous role. In fact, on more than one occasion, DC Comics web articles contain the SEO tags Batman the Animated Series and or Batman the Animated Series movie.
And I think they've grabbed these characters that are so established from Batman the Animated Series and found a way to spin them in this 80s like roadshow.
In the case of the tie-in comics connected to Batman and Harley Quinn even, our friends at corporate felt it necessary to lead the charge with their choice of words on the publication of the Comic Runs trade paperback. Head back to the universe of Batman the Animated Series.
You almost had something there, Maddie. Good thought trying to steer this toward corporate. It makes sense, it does. Who better to make that call? Who else would know better about the DCAU than the owners of the property themselves?
Right.
Then how do you explain this? A pop-up trivia special feature on the Superman the Animated Series DVDs that mentions Teen Titans as part of the DC Animated Universe. That ain't correct. Boom! A Comic-Con panel from 2005 that said Brainiac Attacks was gonna be a, quote, Superman the Animated Series movie. That ain't correct. Boom! This DC promo image for The Batman that uses JLU Batman artwork. fucking boom!
Oh no! Our Canon seems to be out of control!
These folks are not to be trusted. There is no way we can rely on the pencil pushers in the WB marketing offices to use the right fanboy terminology at the right times. We created the phrase DC Animated Universe. The fans, the guys and gals upstairs can use it all they want and we'll eat that shit up like it's going out of style. Because, frankly, it is. The DCAU had its day. We can let it rest. We should let it rest. And you want to know why? Because nobody is keeping track of things anymore. Do you know how many continuity errors there are in Batman and Harley Quinn?
Yes, I did a whole Vanishing Point episode on it not too long after you first locked me in the basement.
Well, there's a lot of them, and they all suck! Henchmen in the Henchman Bar who make no sense to be there when considering their on-screen histories, references to characters in the Super Babes restaurant who have never appeared in the DCAU, a christening for Aquaman's baby that should be several years old by now, Harley Quinn's senior prom only being 10 years ago, Bat vehicles from the wrong era, Nightwing's hair length?
My lord, this is complete conjecture.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, Kurt. At least that's what internet comment sections have been telling me on every video we make.
Do you have a point, Mr. Strecker?
Whatever his point is, your hattedness, it doesn't matter because even though the movie didn't pay attention to older continuity, the comic books that are directly connected to it sure did.
Comics? You want to talk about comics?
Yeah, I do.
So, tie-in comics. These have always been considered pretty across the board to be less important on the Grand Canon totem pole than their motion picture counterparts. What happens on our TV and cinema screens generally tends to be widely accepted as, yep, that definitely happened. It was right there in front of me. While anything else that tries to say, hey, I'm connected to that thing too, is going to be either much less easy to access, much less interesting to casual fans, much less directed by the same creators as the cartoons, or all of the above. When asked about the Batman and Harley Quinn tie-in comics specifically and their direct affiliation with the movie, Bruce Timm answered,
Honestly, I don't know really much about it because it came about so late in production and I was really swamped with other projects, so I didn't have anything to do with it, but I love both Ty Templeton and Rick Burchett. They both did great work on the Batman animated comics all those years ago, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they've come up with for it. So.
But they were included in an exclusive Best Buy box set with the movie, and with there being both sequel and prequel releases to these, they continue plot threads either forward or backward in time respectively from the events of the film. And thankfully, nothing within these comic stories contradicts the events of anything else from the DCAU continuity.
Objection, wrong, lies.
Damn it, I thought I was gonna get away with that one.
I was just talking about this before we got Q snapped into the Next Generation pilot. Poison Ivy is alive and well in this comic prequel, as well as the movie, whereas the last time we saw her in the second volume of the Batman Adventures comic, she was revealed to be a plant clone who died, and the real Poison Ivy was working with Alec Holland. But in the Batman and Harley Quinn continuity, Holland exploded and became Swamp Thing, and there was absolutely zero explanation for how this new Ivy came to be, or if she even was a new Ivy. The timestamp for Harley Quinn's Arkham tenure on her work resume being a bit off, Nightwing calling Gotham his city when he should be based in Bloodhaven by now, Arkham Asylum itself not being a pile of rubble, I could go on.
But you don't have to, because let me bring up my email here. Aha! Okay, look. I noticed all these continuity errors long ago. I reached out to Ty Templeton, the writer of most of these issues, and he was more than willing to give me his take on it all. Ty believed that, while he and Dan Slott had set up a number of heavy plot threads throughout Batman Adventures Volume 2, the fact that they never got to finish their story due to the cancellation of that comic, coupled with the fact that the almighty Bruce Timm was involved in the direction of the new project, he decided to brush aside any odd bit of continuity that he felt no longer worked. The point of the Batman and Harley Quinn prequel series, at the very least, was to continue to expand and flesh out that world, the stories and characters attached to the feature film.
I keep thinking about Plant Guy riding on the subway in a trench coat and hat.
like some kind of 7-foot-tall flasher, all made out of celery.
Anything from Ty's prior Batman Adventures continuity that got in the way, swept under the rug. In his words, too many authors going their own way or spending time puttying up the holes in varied continuities doesn't make for good fiction for the readers. And so I felt it was best to not worry about these hobgoblins of inconsistency. My duty is always to the script in front of me today. How can I make it better for today's reader? And yet, to me, anyway, nothing within these Batman and Harley comics contradicts the greater DCAU, or even the lesser DCAU, shall we say, in any real harmful way. So what if we don't know why Ivy is back? Stuff happens off screen all the time.
Hey, thanks again for helping us out with that League of Assassins thing in Nanda Parbat.
The Joker always comes back. Even that time when he got shot through the chest. Maybe we'll get an explanation in another 20 years. Maybe it'll be a headcanon war waged in wiki discussion threads for all time. The same goes with anything else that sticks out as weird continuity-wise, in the comics or the film. Ty even spoke to news outlets in the lead up to the comic's release pretty nonchalantly about its connection to his previous work with DCAU tie-ins, referring to the previous status quo of Harley and Joker in Batman Adventures Volume 2 in this rousing conversation with IO9.
Tell us a little bit about where we find Harley going into the series.
Our opening chapter finds Harley and Joker in the middle of a grand caper, still a team, a twofer, a duo. In my mind, we pick up no more than a month or so after our last adventure in the DCU, which was more than 10 years ago, I think. The last status quo for the characters, in the comics anyway, was that Joker and Harley almost got married as part of a fairly twisted scheme that didn't pan out, Batman Adventures Volume 2, issue number 16, and each went back to Arkham at the end of that story, so I figure they've busted out since, and we're working on a nefarious prank to kill or inconvenience hundreds of Gothamites. Of course, they don't end up a team by the time the story is over.
Batman the Animated Series has such a specific, beloved style, both in art and tone. What is the hardest part of nailing those elements for you both?
I'm afraid I'm not on board with your question. There's no part of doing this style that's hard. It's fun. I know the voices of these characters because I've seen every episode about 12 times each. I wrote more than 50 issues of the comic series and drew a dozen more. I own the DVD set. I did the production artwork for the collector's edition of the series, so it wasn't hard to find copies. This was a part of my life for more than a decade, so it's not difficult to slip back into the role of co-creator with Rick on something we did day in, day out for years.
And yet, you completely ignore how Bruce Timm has said before that the DCAU comics aren't canon to the cartoons.
Interesting. I seem to remember someone telling me Bruce Timm's opinion on canon doesn't matter? But regardless, that's not even what he said. In regards to the new Batman Adventures episode, The Demon Within, the comic book animated continuity is actually different than the actual animated continuity. They'll do things that contradict what we do and vice versa. But for the sake of the demon story we did in the animated show, we subsumed the Batman Adventures annual we had done into the animated continuity just to get things moving faster. I feel like we've talked that quote into the ground, but it's so old it doesn't even apply to the Batman and Harley comics. Those are a part of the exact same continuity.
Agree to disagree.
Potato, potato.
What?
Nobody has ever said potato like that.
But what about Harley's two butts?
Is that an actual question?
Let's see where he's going with this.
Boob punches, karaoke, fart jokes, humor. This movie is downright silly. That alone separates it from the DCAU. I don't seem to remember anything that comedic or dumb from Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, you don't, huh? You think BTAS was all serious, all brooding, the perfect distillation of the Dark Knight? Exhibit critters, my dude. The terrible trio, underdwellers. I've got Batman in my basement. You should be very familiar with that concept, Mr. Strecker. And I didn't even mention other entries in the DCAU. Mixius Pixelated, Monkey Fun,
Superman's pal, This Little Piggy, Kid Stuff, The Great Brain Robbery, like half of the Zeta Project. Critters flat out rocks, but that's besides the point. The DCAU has been ripe with fumbles. From the very beginning, we remember it all as this beautiful, unwaveringly pristine landscape that reinvented the wheel and changed DC Comics' best characters into the versions we know today. And that's not untrue, but it also never shied away from how ridiculous and goofy the world of spandex-clad superheroes could be. The Justice League met 60s era doppelgangers that used phrases like old chum. Static defeated some bad guys by recruiting help from Shaquille O'Neal. Batman fought a dude armed with ketchup and mustard guns, for Christ's sake! And these weren't even all fumbles, really. Some of these episodes are among the best the universe has to offer, but if you don't remember to remove the nostalgia goggles every once in a while, you miss out on them. Sure, I'm not saying every episode of these shows is fantastic. That's by far not the case, but they don't have to be. Aristotle said, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." But rather than these parts that make up the DCAU being meaningless when separated, they instead become examples of magnificence or mediocrity all on their own. The fact of the matter is, the DCAU has always been a grab bag of stories and characters at the whim of dozens of writers and producers, creators that have tossed their hat in the ring, even for a fleeting moment, hats that have triggered butterfly effect upon butterfly effect to get us to where we are today. And it goes back even further than the DCAU itself. We wouldn't have Batman and Harley Quinn without Paul Dini and Bruce Timm inventing Harley Quinn for Batman the Animated Series. Dini and Timm wouldn't have invented her if not for Arlene Sorkin's performance on Days of Our Lives. We wouldn't have Days of Our Lives without Ted and Betty Corday creating it, them existing without their parents creating them, and so on. Ted Corday's grandparents are responsible for Batman and Harley Quinn, so point your fingers at them. That's all I'm saying.
The trial never ends. This tangent has run its course.
The DCAU is awesome, but the DCAU also sucks sometimes. I don't know what else to tell you.
But this is no excuse for laziness, surely.
Matty.
What?
What?
The writers of Batman and Harley Quinn didn't even do their homework. Not watching every episode to check their work? Come on.
Right, like you rewatch every episode of something you're doing a video on.
I do.
Mr. Dark Hatter, or whatever your name is, don't we gotta tell the whole truth so help us God or something like that?
James, you produced an issue of the Legacies of the DCAU continuation fan comic that was about how the Scarecrow transitioned into his new Batman Adventures self. Yet it contradicts any canonical explanation of that event. Isn't that correct?
Well, yes. I mean...
You imprison me to keep track of continuity and then completely throw it all out the window if it contradicts any story that you want to tell.
Okay, you got me. Especially with the tie-in comics, I do not have time to read it. Who reads?
You commit perjury in the name of adjacent material. Why?
What was that?
Perjury. Such children. It is when one willfully tells...
No. That other word. Adjacent. Adjective. Next to or adjoining something else. For years, creatives have kept their distance from answering the canon question by using the failsafe, "it's adjacent." And because of the murkiness of the word's definition, this has come to mean many different possible things to the fans. It could mean the item in question is aloof, distanced from its fellow films or shows or comics or what have you, based on tonal or stylistic changes from the original source material. An example that obviously comes to mind may be Superman Brainiac Attacks, which borrowed some character designs and voice actors from Superman the Animated Series, yet is decidedly not part of the same continuity, and could therefore be defined as STAS adjacent. It could also mean the item in question is part of a very similar, yet still different, universe to a comparable counterpart, such as in the case of Justice League Action and Green Lantern the Animated Series, where, no spoilers, a certain character's story crossed over between the two shows. It doesn't necessarily mean the shows both exist in the same universe, but that character simply may exist in a very similar way in 2 different universes. Their story is the same, or damn near the same. However, adjacent may yet have a much more inclusive definition, as in the case of the DC Animated Universe styled films. At the Justice League vs. the Fatal Five Comic-Con panel, Bruce Timm referred to the film as a
Justice League Unlimited adjacent story.
And knowing full well how that movie works out in DCAU continuity,
Is canon.
we can then follow that through line back to Batman and Harley Quinn. Let's call it DCAU adjacent. Pronounced Jim Krieg, co-writer of this movie, on Twitter a mere 2 days after its premiere. But Jim Krieg also said this in the Batman and Harley Quinn sneak peek featurette a few months prior.
This is kind of a strange red-headed nephew of Batman the Animated Series. But don't show it to your kids thinking that it is Batman the Animated Series. It is its own thing, kind of extrapolated.
On the surface, this might come across as a fairly blatant BTAS and this movie do not exist in the same universe. But my counterpoint to this is Static Shock BTAS. How about Justice League Unlimited? Gotham Girls even?
No.
They are their own things extrapolated. And if we're gonna take this Jim Krieg quote into consideration as bearing weight on the outcome of this, trial, then we should just as well consider these Jim Krieg quotes.
It was like being dropped into a world that you're already familiar with. I got to jump into the world from Saturday morning a couple decades ago.
It's a real honor to work on it because, you know, this is a world we know about and we care about and have for years.
This is Kevin and Bruce's Batman from Batman the Animated Series. Batman is still Batman in this. Than the Batman we know from BTAS.
Well, I've been doing this quite a long time, but this is the first time I get to work in the BTAS universe. It's all, you know what? It is Batman the Animated Series with kind of a layer of comedy on top of it.
And last but certainly not least, this tweet from him a few months before the movie even came out, where he cheekily posted simply a panel of Batman and a Canon, cut apart but easily reassembled if you happen to know how.
James, aren't you supposed to be the one defending against this movie's canonicity? Your little adjacent spiel was very affirming, positive, pro-canon.
Yeah, I mean, well, see, because I was just, yeah.
Do you think me a fool? Understand this. Whatever game you imagine you're playing, I do not find it amusing. Do you not care for the people of your world? As you stand there wasting my time, millions after millions perish. Your planet will be consumed in a matter of minutes, and all you can think to do is postpone the inevitable. Tell me, James, if you're so dead set on this adjacent business, what did Jim Krieg mean? Tell me!
I don't know. Anything that I say would just be assumed.
Take your best guess.
I don't know. Multiverse theory is pretty hot in the zeitgeist lately. Batman and Harley Quinn has to exist in some universe. Maybe Krieg just meant a slightly sillier one.
I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. It all goes back to something I've had in my notes for a video I've wanted to make for a while about Chronos and time travel. It's a continuum.
Excuse me?
The way every entry in the DCAU works. A continuum. A continuous sequence in which adjacent elements aren't perceptibly different from each other, although the extremes are quite distinct. Shazam! I'm having second thoughts here. I think Jason Takes ManHatTed would have been a bit better here. No?
Okay,
no?
How many fucking clones of me did you make?
Dude, I don't even know what's going on at this point.
What's up, Doc?
Pretty reckless of you to just waltz into the Prime universe like this. You leave behind a bit of a stench.
How did you...
We have time travel powers!
my lord!
Nope. Really don't think you want to be getting in the middle of whatever this is. You murdered all our worlds. All our universes gone. This is where your story ends. Any last words?
Yes, I did not destroy your universes. I simply moved them to other dimensions. They were in my way.
Where the fuck am I?
Then could you move them and all of us back?
Done.
You missed a spot.
I'm not quite done with them yet.
Jesus Christ!
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not evil. I just simply seek to make sense of animated continuity. Is that too much to ask? I just want to solve the puzzle. The ultimate puzzle. Life.
Wait. So then... Damn it, this guy's been playing us the whole time. Huh?
No, Maddie's right, Maddie. This bozo's just doing the same thing he did to all of your worlds. There's nothing at stake here. He's just moving Earth.
You're right. I am just moving the planet. Into the sun.
Come again for Judge Fudge? Okay, why are we talking about Batman and Harley Quinn? It's been years already. Why is this relevant?
That's what I said.
I believe it is the key to unlocking the enigma that is the DCAU's continuity.
Come on.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
It can't be done.
We have been up and down this road long enough. My master apparently sees some sort of use in keeping you around. I pray he has good reason.
Okay, what did you guys cover already?
Bruce Timm saying it's canon, Bruce Timm not being reliable, WB and DC saying it's canon, them not being reliable, the tie-in comics causing continuity issues, Ty Templeton himself brushing those issues away, those issues not really being issues, the film being a little too silly, but not really, but maybe really, and then that's where you both showed up. Wait, if Bruce Timm doesn't define canon, or Ty Templeton, or Jim Krieg, or the fucking companies that owned them all.
Did you try looking through quotes from other people involved in the movie?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, we got the same laptop! Hey! Hey!
Oh my god, there's two of them. Hey!
Clock. Ticking.
Oh, here we go. Going to that humor and keeping him rooted in the character you've known for 25 years. That was the challenge for me.
That's the really scary part, is just honoring this character and the writers and the director and Bruce and this universe.
I've been doing a lot of these Comic-Cons for the last year, and people come up and say, "Oh my gosh, you have the same voice. How come you're not doing the show again?" And I say, I honestly don't know. And then sure enough, they're doing it again, and here we are. Wait, no. This isn't any better. If Bruce Timm saying the movie is canon doesn't count, there's no way something a cast member said will have any more validity.
What about Sam Liu? He directed the movie.
Things like this, it is sort of, it's based off of the Batman the Animated Series universe. It's set in, the Bruce Timm Batman the Animated Series universe.
It's funny because, the whole continuity thing, it's definitely a different sort of take, I feel like, on it. I mean, to be honest, it took me a little while to sort of get into, what Bruce was kind of thinking and sort of how he wanted to go with this. I mean, this is Bruce's thing. I gotta give it to him because I'm just gonna own up to it. I didn't sort of know until about halfway through it that this is how we're gonna approach it.
This isn't helping at all, is it?
I think I'm starting to wish the time would just run out and you'd all be dead.
Look, dude, we've been hanging out in their universe for several years now.
You have?
Not important. What I'm saying is that we've had a lot of time to think about what all the other us's in the white space were discussing before the real us's appeared. I know some of those words.
Star Trek James said it best. No fictional universe's continuity is going to be 100% perfect, because with crossover after crossover after crossover, there are no actual rules to confine the stories to. Every one of these times when a new piece of media comes out that's tangentially attached to a previously established world,
the rulebook gets rewritten. Just because continuity works one way for the DCAU doesn't mean it works the same way for the Teen Titans universe, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Scooby-Doo, Ben 10, hell, even the DC animated movie universe. Does Flashpoint Paradox jumpstart that continuity, or was it already going? Where will it end? Or has it already ended?
Is it up to the folks in their fancy office chairs who write the checks? Is it up to those who bring these worlds out of their brains and onto the written page? Is it up to you? To me? What is it?
I think...
Yes, James? You have something to share with the class?
Yes, Your Honor. I think I have what you're looking for.
My apologies, my lord, but these humans do not seem to have the answers you seek. The trial has been fruitful, but ultimately pointless.
Kurt, you underestimate them. Let this one speak his mind. Then we shall make our verdict known.
Okay, no pressure. Batman and Harley Quinn began as a thought in someone's brain. Just as every video that we've made on the channel begins, it doesn't truly exist until someone pulls it from their head and presents it to other people. Only then can we perceive it as real. Only then that something stops being headcanon. But really, everything is headcanon. It all comes from somebody's head. Fiction is only brought to life by the viewer or reader allowing it to be. The creator of said art can only do so much. It takes us to accept the reality. This show, this concept, will it canon? It doesn't act as judge, jury, and executioner. It simply asks the question, will it work? Does the possibility exist that all of our combined understandings of a fictional world will align and function together?
You sit here before your peers in a dying planet, mere moments away from annihilation, and all you have up your sleeve is trivial matters of the heart? Heart canon?
Are they so trivial? There is palpable fatigue in this room alone, in the souls of everyone working tirelessly year-round to create new projects that play in the sandbox of the DC animated universe. We are tired. They are tired. Tired of looking for new ways to say the same thing. Tired of deferring judgment to each other. New entries in the DCAU are never going to feel the same as the old. We're not children anymore.
I fail to see your point.
My point? My point is there is no point. We can't change anything. All we can do is accept what is and hope others can do the same.
So you're giving up?
No, Kurt. We wanted the good doctor to come to a positive conclusion. We want Batman and Harley Quinn to be DCAU canon.
But you don't get to decide what is or isn't canon.
Then who does? Look, we can talk in circles about this stuff for forever. This person said this, that person said that. Bruce Timm is in charge. No, Warner Bros. Is in charge. No, the fans are in charge. Warner Bros. Animation PR rep Gary Mariano was the very person to ask Bruce Timm at the Justice League vs. the Fatal 5 panel whether or not that movie was DCAU canon, which to me suggests that there is a corporate dependence on Bruce to be the one to sort these things out. But Bruce doesn't care, and he shouldn't have to. We are the ones who care. Bruce deferred to the fans at that panel, but we're never going to have a 100% accepted yes or a no on these kinds of things. Because we're all different people with different attachments to these properties. We care about continuity because it makes us feel special. We can identify with these characters that we love so much. We can plot out their entire lives. We know Batman from childhood to college to crime fighting to cane walking. Caring about continuity, about something being canon to the prime reality of the world which our favorite characters inhabit. It's paramount for us to keep sacred and holy because it makes us feel like these are real people on real adventures. Adventures that inform who they are, how they grow and change, live and breathe, how they interact with each other. It's so important to us because it gives us an insight that others may not pick up on when approaching the material. Why that smile between characters was more than just a smile. Even if it was written by a different author, decades apart, where the first guy never even met the second, it means something because it's these characters and we saw why it's important.
But it's not, is it?
No, not really.
At the end of the day, it's all just ink, paper, ideas, disconnected stories dressed up to act out a fiction as if they mean something to one another, as if it's a truly shared history. But it's just that, fiction. Sure, imagining what it would be like if it was real is a blast, absolutely, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's multiple choice. You choose your own adventure. You either die at peace or live long enough to see yourself become the pieces.
Truly, whoever we are, wherever we reside, we exist upon the whim of murderers.
That last part doesn't make a lot of sense.
Just go with it.
My lord, I move for a final judgment.
Agreed. Much evidence has been presented here today. In the time that I've known the two of you, the four of you, it is clear that you care a great deal about the past, present, and future of the DC animated universe. A devotion and understanding that runs deeper than I'd ever imagined. A difficult decision must be made. In order to secure the fate of DCAU canonicity today and forever, it is the verdict of this court that Batman and Harley Quinn shall be deemed
What?
Attention! Remain where you are. All of your database belongs to us. This YouTube channel is now under the control of the Synthoids.